Hello, welcome back. It has been kind of a long time since I have done a longer form video. My name is Mira. You have reached the Dead Knitter Society YouTube channel, and this is my little corner of the internet where grief and fiber arts connect. I was inspired to answer a series of 26 questions. It's the Tag a Knitter 26 questionnaire, which was put out by Pearl on Fire, a blog that's new to me, but introduced to me by my friend Rachel, who I went on the knitting tour with in May to Ireland. So I figured this was kind of a good way to get back into making some videos and talking about crafting and missing my mom and kind of what's going on in my life. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to be continuing working on my series of Tour de Fleece. I didn't really have I'm going to do specifically this, but I wanted to finish up old stuff that was kind of pending, which I've done. I'm really proud of myself. I finished a giant combo spin and finished up some kind of more beginner projects that I had let sort of languish, almost done, but not quite. This was actually a 3-braid combo spin, braids that I got in Ireland at This Is Knit in Dublin. So I have one finished bobbin of, this colorway was called Hot Flash. I'm gonna let you guess why I chose this. Okay. And then I ended up mixing the other two, and hopefully this won't crinkle too much, but you can see there's like a toffee, and then there was like a pink, green, blue. So the toffee was called Toffee something, and the other brighter colorway was called Jackie. And so I ended up nesting those up and mixing them for 2 bobbins in different length repeats. And I'm just gonna see what happens with that. I'm in my era of fuck around, find out, and really allowing myself to not comply with rules. So I think that will actually also be explained if I get going on this questionnaire. So this section is called Introduce Yourself. So I think I just did that. Yes, my name is Mira. I am a very recent Master's of Social Work graduate. I just passed my initial licensure in Massachusetts. I had a job lined up, and then that kind of fell through. So I'm actually just starting a new job, waiting for a client roster to build. So yeah, that's hi, Mira, Dead Knitter Society, that me. So question number 1, do you consider yourself a beginner, intermediate, or advanced knitter? And I am going to say, I'm going to qualify this. I would consider myself an advanced knitter of the skills that I know how to do. There are a lot of kind of advanced techniques that I don't know how to do. Like, I've never steeked. I am 100% sure that I have the skill set to do that. I'm chicken shit. That's what I am. I am learning how to be bad at things and to allow myself to learn by being bad. That's kind of been this 2-year journey since my mom died, was really allowing myself space to learn without perfection. So, but I definitely do think, I produce good work. I can read patterns. There are skills that I want to expand, like being able to design my own work, and to be more intuitive and a little bit, less reliant on the patterns of others. But I can knit. How old was I when I learned how to knit? So this is going to go back to, and if you've listened to any of my knitting and grieving series, you know that I love my mother. I love my mother very much. My mom was so good at everything that I grew up with really this narrative, a self-narrative, that I was not artistic because I wasn't as good as her at pretty much anything. She did try to teach me to knit when I was a child. I want to say maybe between 8 and 10. There was a yarn store in the town that we moved into when I was 8. I did buy a sweater's worth quantity. Mom never knit Mom did not knit from patterns ever, ever, ever. And that was actually something that she said she couldn't do. So when I chose a pattern out of like a 1970s pattern book, we didn't realize that they were in UK needle numbers, not US. So I knit most of a striped sweater that ended up being like pajama length, like tunic length. And then I gave that up. And I didn't touch it again because I had failed. Didn't touch it again until I was 24 years old. At the time, I was a 2-pack-a-day smoker, and I also was rather unexpectedly pregnant. And I needed to quit smoking really fast. So I went to Joanne Fabrics, rest in peace, and got myself a Lion brand Learn to Knit kit, which consisted of a book with black and white photos. This was 2003, so YouTube wasn't a thing. And I got 6 skeins of Lion brand homespun and giant wooden needles, and I knit over that first weekend that I was quitting smoking a giant, ugly, terrible blanket, which we still have. But every time I wanted a cigarette, I would pick up my knitting, and then I didn't stop. I also crocheted a little bit then. I crocheted a baby blanket for my daughter. I knit several blankets. When I moved, she was born out of New England. When I moved back to New England before her first birthday, I was like, I'm gonna keep knitting. But at the time, I didn't know how to substitute yarn. So all of the knitting books that I was kind of sourcing patterns from were giving you recommendations for pretty spendy yarn, and I was driving all over New England trying to find it. But I did finally figure out, like, you can go your own way. You know, the wisdom of Fleetwood Mac always applies. So I say that I was like in my mid-20s when I learned to knit, but realistically I entered learning to knit with some amount of muscle memory from childhood. I had never learned to cast on as a child. Mom always would do the cast on and then give me whatever it was. So yeah, do I do any other fiber crafts? Hi. So in the line of the past 2 years has been giving myself permission to be a beginner. I learned to spin last year during Tour de Fleece. I was inspired again by Rachel. Thank you, my friend. To just try to spin 5 minutes every day. And it wasn't quite by the end of Tour de Fleece. It took going to a fiber festival and actually watching people, because I used to like try to like this, like I was running somewhere. And that didn't work as a beginner. My hands couldn't keep up. So watching people and then just feel like it was so much allowing myself to like make bad yarn. I think that's actually going to be another video, is I want to kind of show where I started, which I may weave with that. It's awful. And kind of now where I'm ending up and where I want to go, because there's still so much more I can learn. Besides this, I also learned to sew last year. Again, that was one of those things, like I remember sewing for brownies because my mom was the brownie troop leader. And my neighbor figured it out right away, and I couldn't figure it out easily, and I tantrumed and stomped up the stairs from the basement and never touched a sewing machine again until last summer. And so I'm not wearing anything that I've sewn, but I pretty much made my entire like business casual wardrobe for my advanced practicum, which I was pretty proud of. So I sew. We did needle felting when my kids were little, and then I did it again in Ireland, and I love it. That was like such a fun craft. I do a little bit of cross stitch. My daughter actually is more of like an embroiderer, cross stitch person. It's rich fiber arts in my family. My maternal grandmother made absolutely incredible fine filigree crocheted lace. My mom was just the most spectacular knitter. My paternal grandmother did embroidery and the kind of cross stitch where like it's not counted. It's the one where you can like almost paint with your cross stitch. It's really beautiful. So yeah, but I knit, I do a little bit of crochet, um, learn to spin, learn to sew. I like to needle felt. I also dabble in weaving, and that's something that I want to do more of. We did a really cool tapestry weaving workshop in Ireland. This is a little bit of a plug for Rachel's knitting tours. 10 out of 10, no notes. They're awesome. If you can do it, do it. So I actually opened up, I have a 10-inch Cricut lap loom, and I want to do some more kind of painting with yarn, tapestry weaving stuff, because it's portable and fun and gives my hands different muscle movements to do, because I do worry about repetitive use injuries with my hyper focus. So yeah, okay, this is gonna take forever if I don't like start marching through this. What are my non-fiber hobbies? I am a big outdoorsy person. I spent the past couple of years not only being in graduate school and taking care of my dying mother, but also being very, very sick myself. I had a very significant surgery last year, which was life-saving, but really impacted how I can engage in physical activity. And it's been more than a year, and I'm still trying to return to the outdoor hobbies that I really enjoy. But I love stand-up paddling. My family are big skiers. I love alpine touring because why do it the easy way when you can beat yourself up and self-flagellate and actually just climb up the mountain before skiing down it. So I have also run an ultra marathon. I love running, trail running, that's where it's at. Road running is like the aid stations in trail races are way more fun with better food. All about snacks with a view. I like to read. I love to like collage and junk journal. I don't know, just get me outside. Let me go backpacking or camping. Those are kind of like the big things that I like to do. And just, I like learning new things. I really, really like learning new things. So if I try it out, it'll probably become a hobby, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, who do I knit for most often? Myself, thank you very much. And I don't think that's selfish, actually, because knitworthiness that could be a whole nother video. I do, now that my mother is gone, she would always make things for her grandchildren. My kids are older, and it's pretty rare that they want things, particularly my teenage son. But I have knit sweaters that ended up being my daughter's. I am now making birthday gifts for my nieces and nephews as much as I can. Usually something small like a hat, but continuing that tradition that, grandma would make them hand knit things. So I'm trying to do that for them too, so that's part of their childhood and part of keeping her connected and present in their lives. But yeah, overall, I knit for me, and I'm not sad about it. Can I knit in the dark without looking? Stockinette, sure. I tend to need to glance when I'm knitting. Spinning I can do pretty well without having to like reference my hands. But don't please no brioche or like anything that's complicated if I'm knitting, but I can definitely like be conversational as I knit, and I actually tend to knit whenever I have to listen to like a video or a training or a meeting, because having something to do with my hands helps me attend to the task. I have ADHD, and so I will lose track of a conversation actually if I'm not doing something with my hands and knitting. So how big do I knit my gauge swatches? This is choosing violence. I tend to not knit them. And so far, no knitting gods have come out of the ether and struck me down. If I knit one, which is usually for maybe a yarn that I've never used before, so I'm not familiar with it, or a designer that I haven't knit their patterns before, so I don't have a familiarity with their gauge compared to mine, I will do maybe like a 2-inch high to 4-ish inches. But honestly, most often I will steam block the neckline, and to give myself an idea, am I vaguely on track? I rarely knit stuff with negative ease, so like, and it hasn't done me that dirty. Like, usually my stuff fits because I am willing to frog it if it looks wrong. I also have been known to start a sleeve instead of a neckline because a sleeve can act as a swatch in the round. But yeah, I know that people feel very strongly about it, that it's dating your yarn. I just want to get to it. Like, and this is what works for me. You do what works for you. Okay. Do I have an FO fail? Project I finished and immediately hid. Knitting wise, not so much. More, I have like a sewing. I made a dress for graduation that I think I'm gonna cannibalize it and make a top and a skirt because it just doesn't work as a dress. But most of the stuff that I make, if I'm not feeling it, I don't finish it and I just frog it or start it over. So I wouldn't really say that I have a fail per se. There are a couple things that no longer fit me in this season of my life that, you know, I've given to friends or whatnot, but no, I don't think I really have had like a significant fail. Maybe there was like one cowl that I made with Noro Silk Garden, and I don't know if you've ever used Noro yarn, but it's like beautiful color, it's like a long repeat variegated yarn. So you get this beautiful color change, cat barf, beautiful color, cat barf. And at the time, I didn't give myself permission to cut that cat barf color out. So I didn't love that cowl, but it ended up getting thrown in the wash anyway, and it felted. So it's not part of my life anymore. And then a Mount Everest project, a project that I aspire to knit one day. Okay, so there are some skills that I want to learn. Like I would like to steek something, and I will probably start with like a French press koozie before I tackle a big steeked sweater. Like in Knitter's Almanac, that's the first project that Elizabeth Zimmerman gives you, is a steeked sweater. I was like going to go through that, do that like year of knitting. This is that other very colorful yarn. So I was going to do that, and then I got to the steeked part and I was like, no, I'm not ready to face this demon. So one day I'd like to do a steeked cardigan of some sort. There is a dress pattern, and I will see if I can find the picture and put it up on either side of me when I edit this. But there's this dress that I actually bought during a yarn crawl, probably more than 10 years ago. I ended up getting, I want to say it was Madeline Tosh sock for this, but it's a fingering weight, highly textured dress. Of course, I am a bigger human than I was then, so I probably don't actually have enough yarn for it anymore, but that would be, it's still on my radar. I think it's just gorgeous. It's so beautiful. It's just several panels of different textures. So it would be something that needs to be attended to and not travel or social knitting. So now we're getting into this or that section of questions. Metal needles or wood needles? Okay, I am team wooden needles when you're beginning. I learned on wooden needles, and at some point the lack of slipperiness, like that's how I knew I was getting better control of my yarn on my needles, because I actually wanted it to slide. So currently in this iteration of my life, I am a metal interchangeable Chiago needle girly all the way, even with pretty slippery yarn, because it's just my preference. The tips are just sharp enough. I just find that wooden needles, they actually hurt my hands because I have to wrestle with the yarn a little bit more, and the tips aren't as sharp. But I do have some still, and certainly, like if TSA ever stole my knitting needles from me, I would 100% just knit with pencils, and that's wooden too. So anyway, yarn in my right hand or yarn in my left hand? Okay, well, it depends. I'm a sciencey person, and that's going to be my answer a lot of the time. Natively, I am a thrower in my right hand. That's how I was taught, and I'm not the flicker. No, my index fingers don't like working. I am a thrower, but I know how to knit continental in my left hand. And I will do that again to avoid repetitive motions. So I'll just switch back and forth sometimes. I know people are like, oh, it'll change your gauge. I haven't noticed a difference. And then when I do color work, I hold color work in both hands. And I learned stranded color work probably, I don't know. My son was probably a baby. So he's 17 now. So I've known how to do that for a while. It's still, my go-to is my right hand, but I can do either. And it doesn't really matter to me, I guess, if that makes sense. Flat or in the round? Well, it depends. I think if I'm knitting stockinette, please in the round. I kind of detest purling. I took an entrelac class a million years ago on Craftsy, and learning to knit in Hebrew, going left to right, changed my life, because then even working flat, I don't need to purl. It's a little bit trickier if you're doing ribbing, but typically I like in the round projects, but I won't avoid a knitted flat project, particularly if I can do, it's almost like eating corn on the cob, like a typewriter or something, knitting like that. But yeah, if I can avoid purling, that's better. But I don't know. If we're talking about stockinette, then in the round, fine, I'll choose something. Process knitter or product knitter? Process. Like, I love making things and I love wearing things that I've made. And like I said, I kind of am on a mission to, particularly in my professional life, to wear mainly me-mades, because that's, as a therapist, it's an implicit tell a little bit. It helps people identify some of my values and who I am without me saying anything. So I do love wearing my product, but I am here for the process. I am here for having things to do with my hands. I am here for, okay, fine, I need to rip it out because I do need to change my needle size, and I'm not sad about that because it's just more knitting time. So process for me. Sweaters or socks? It depends. If I'm traveling, I love socks. I don't like hauling around a sweater. I love knitting sweaters. They are really gratifying and cozy because I live in New England and it's cold in the wintertime. So if I am traveling, I'd rather take socks, but if I'm at home, I'd rather be working on a sweater. Cables or lace? I have made one heavily cabled project, and that was my opposite pole cardigan. That's by Joji Locatelli. I freaking love that, but I don't really love knitting cables, although I did in Ireland learn a new no cable needle method, which was pretty cool. But I think I would definitely say brioche. I guess lace, just lace, but neither is really my favorite. Alpaca or mohair? I'm gonna go with the Surrey alpaca if I want like a fuzzy haloed yarn. I just think alpaca is so scrumptious. It's not knocking mohair. I'm not yucking anybody's yum. If I had to choose, I would choose alpaca. Knitting in public, cozy or cringe? Cozy. What is cringe is people on their fucking phones with no headphones and watching a video with the volume on, or on a FaceTime call in public. That's cringe. Me sitting unobtrusively knitting away while I'm like at a coffee shop or, anywhere, like waiting for my food to come at a restaurant, having a conversation while I'm knitting, I don't think is any cringier than someone who's ignoring the people who are at the table with them face down in a phone, particularly if they have the volume on. The eviler side of me wants to like sidle on over and be like, what are we watching? I hate that. Anyway, so 100% take your knitting. Get out, knit in public. Let people see that there are things to do out in the world that don't involve your blessed phone. Favorites. Favorite stitch pattern, and stockinette counts as a stitch pattern. However, I would choose any brioche stitch. I love brioche. It is squishy. It has high visual impact without difficulty. And I think a lot of knitting is like that, where like there are so many techniques that people are afraid of because they look really complicated, but they're just knits, purls, yarn overs. They're not actually hard. So find a high visual impact, low effort pattern that you love and make friends with it. Learn to read it. But yeah, any kind of brioche. I love brioche. I could brioche all freaking day. Favorite FO picture. Okay, so I will again put a picture up next to me, but I knit Caitlin Hunter's Ghost Horses pattern in the fall and winter of 2019 going into 2020. My horse of 23 years, he's actually in some of the pictures that are up above my head, but Jojo died September 5th, 2019. I had that horse for 23 of his 26 years. It was a giant loss in my life. And the next week she came out with this beautiful colorwork, stranded colorwork pattern with horses galloping across the yoke, right across your heart. So I called that my grief sweater. It took me until April to finish it. And we took pictures of that finished object by his grave. And so some of my favorite pictures of that sweater are from that kind of photo shoot. And it was really cathartic. But I also, it's like one of my a knitter knows what that is. I wore it at a wool festival last fall, Vermont Sheep and Wool. And like people were following me into booths to get a picture, which I've never had that experience before. Favorite increase method. Whatever is appropriate for the pattern. I mean, I guess I like lifted increases because they're more invisible, but sometimes you want an increase decoratively to be visible. So like my Felix cardigan, those yarn over increases are adorable. So I'm gonna say my favorite increase is the one that serves the finished object best. Favorite designer, well, my mom, but she never published anything. I actually want to write up her garments and her patterns at some point. Like maybe this is a 10-year project for me, but I would love to do that. But for existing designers who publish things, I love a good Hoagie pattern. I think her patterns are really easy to read. They're well written. I love Leslie Ann Robinson of Knit Graffiti. She is like Queen of Brioche, and I adore her patterns. They're also very well written, very clear. Test knitting for her is super fun. I do the couple of Caitlin Hunter sweaters that I've knit, I have really enjoyed. I know people have feelings about her round yokes, but I haven't run into an issue. I do like Andrea Mowry's patterns. I understand her deep dive and kind of having that theme and then doing the hat and the cowl and the socks and the mitts. I was reading about the tall poppy thing where people are kind of tearing her down for this year's Rhinebeck sweater, and it is a really interesting phenomenon to see, like at one event everyone, or it looks like everyone on people's videos, wearing the same thing. But Andrea writes a very clear pattern. She has really interesting construction methods and very just kind of innovative. I am really glad I'm learning to spin because spin cycle yarn is expensive and mine looks a lot like it. So maybe I'll knit more of her patterns now that I you know, I'm not trying to find subs for Spin Cycle. But speaking of that, in the past few years, she has been putting a PDF of kind of appropriate yarn substitutions. And y'all, we can do that for ourselves. There are several website, you know, resources that you can find, yarnsub.com, just using your noggin and like looking at the weight and gauge, like trying it, and if you don't like it, do something different. But she does provide that, and I think that's very cool. So I would say that she's, particularly just for inspo, I do really love her patterns, but I think my top 3 are probably going to be Hohi Locatelli, Leslie Ann Robinson of Knit Graffiti, and then Caitlin Hunter. There are so many designers that I want to try though. Like, I really, favorite doesn't mean that I'm not willing to try new things. So we'll qualify that. Favorite place to knit, wherever I am. Like wherever I am. Although I will say, I had the most delightful visit from Mom the other day. My husband and I went into Salem, Massachusetts, and he was watching the World Cup final at a local bar, and I was at a spinning circle, the first spinning circle. It was held at Toil and Trouble, and it was so nice to sit with like 20 some other odd people spinning and like being able to nerd out. That was awesome. But the game wasn't over, so I went down by the water at Derby Wharf, and there are like these Adirondack chairs that they have there. And the one that was available, the last one that was open, had "Hi Mom" written on it. And then as soon as I sat down, a ladybug came and flew and stayed on my hands the whole time I was knitting in front of the water in the harbor. So it was this beautiful sunny day with a ladybug on my hand and "Hi Mom" by my arm. And so like that was definitely a favorite knitting moment. But really my favorite knitting place is wherever I am. And I do really love a good car knit. Like car knitting is very fun. Favorite yarn weight. We're almost there, y'all. I love the fabric that fingering weight gives you. Fingering weight sweaters and garments are a labor of love, and they take a while because it's a lot of stitches. I am just kind of making friends with DK weight, and I'm finding that like my go-to spin tends to be a sport weight, which I'm not mad about. But I think for garments like hats, cowls, whatnot, fingering weight, I love a fingering weight tank top. But DK or worsted if I'm making a sweater. Favorite fiber. I do love alpaca. It's so soft, but it doesn't hold its structure the way that wool does. So maybe a non-superwash, because I do have some feelings about the processing for superwash. I would say, you know, the Madeline Tosh Pashmina that is discontinued, devastated. That was like a merino cashmere blend, and it was so nice, so beautiful. But I love spinning Shanico. I love spinning Corriedale. But give me like a nice wool alpaca blend, and I will be very, very happy about that. And then sharing the love. Where do I like to shop for yarn? So seeing as how I can't go on a knitting tour every weekend, if I could, I would. We had such a great time. My daughter and I went on that knitting tour as congratulations, we graduated, because we both graduated from Regis College. I got my master's, she got her BSN. And you couldn't have planned that out. We graduated the same day, same ceremony, like it was amazing. And then we got to go on this trip together, and it was phenomenal. So, but that is not where I can usually shop for yarn. So local yarn stores, I have 2 close to me that I adore. Circle of Stitches in Salem, Massachusetts, is kind of my first stop, unless it's October. You do not want to go to Salem in October. And I know that the store owners disagree with me, but the traffic is kind of wild. So the other local yarn store is in Newburyport, and it is called South End Yarn Co. Really delightful people. And there are lots of other really good local yarn stores in my area. Those are just the two that I am most familiar with, have relationships with the owners, and tend to go to. I'll also say that I really do love Farmer's Daughter Fibers. And I love that she makes an effort to let you know when your yarn is being sourced like from America, because our textile industry is endangered. So I do love Farmer's Daughter Fibers for online ordering, and then also Sun Dragon Fiber Arts in Brevard, North Carolina. If you've ever knit a ranunculus, the owner of that shop, Rebecca, has this incredible video tutorial series in her Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks channel. Highly recommend checking that out if you want to make a ranunculus. Super helpful. And I've had nothing but wonderful experiences buying yarn from her shop. Knitting content creators am I loving at the moment? Okay, this is the last question. I made it. And if you made it, congratulations. So I would say Rachel is knitting. Hi, friend. I stumbled on her onto her platform right around the time that my mom was passing, and then ended up going on one of her knitting tours, and it was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. I made so many friends who, you know, we're still, you know, we have a Discord channel that we're still chatting on, and that wouldn't have happened without Rachel's content and without her her channel and her blogs. So I really, really enjoy her blogs so much. And then who else? For a while there, I was following a lot of people, and then I haven't as much. Cinema Knit is not making as much content, or at least it's not being delivered to me quite as handily. But that's Sophie. She's from the UK. She's a lot of fun. Why am I forgetting her name? It's something Naomi. She's actually a sewing, mostly sewing, but some knitting. Is it Sarah Naomi? I think it's Sarah Naomi. I'll tag everything in the description. But I really do like her content as well. Knit California is another good content creator. I will give a shout out to new to me, but Celtic Unicorn Knits was at the Fenway Noah Khan show that I was watching from the outside of the stadium because I couldn't get tickets. But really fun, beautiful, like beautiful work that she's showing on Instagram. My friend Bethany, who is Waddy and Piper, her Instagram, her reels are chef's kiss. Like, I aspire to make a reel the way that she does. But yeah, that's kind of like, now that I'm setting up work life again, I have been doing a little bit less YouTubing. But those would be, oh, well, you know what? That's not true. So YouTube wise, knitting content creator wise, I do really like Andrea Mowry's Friday I'll Knit If I Want To question and answer. It's like 5 questions that she does every week. It's really good. And then whenever Candace, Farmer's Daughter Fibers, does actually put stuff online, her content is very helpful and inspiring. So I would add those two. And then same thing, Hohi was doing Hohi's journals for a while there, and it's become a bit more sporadic, but I do love her her knitting journals. They are wonderful. I will also share that Hohi has been doing Zoom knitting workshops, which are so economically feasible. Like, I want to say it's like 50 American for a 3-hour workshop that comes with a PDF that is like not haphazard. It is a really wonderful resource. So I've been taking advantage of those. She does them usually like once every month or once every 2 months. And it's live. You can ask questions. Like I financing getting to the big festivals where you can take, you know, classes with some of these, you know, bigger name designers can be economically not viable, but to be able to do it Zoom, and still have that, you know, in-person online experience, but have it be a live class has been super enriching and really something that I find so valuable. So those would be the love that I want to share. So if you made it, bless you. I am so excited to actually be talking with y'all again. I have missed this, finishing my practicum and my final research project sucked the life out of me, and I had zero bandwidth to make any YouTube videos. But last week when I was making some content for Tour de Fleece, I realized how much I missed doing this. I'm a verbal processor, so having this outlet to talk about, you know, what's in my brain, and to talk about mom and to kind of, you know, keep her name in the world has been so lovely and beautiful. So yeah, I am going to aim to return to more regular content creation here in this space for the month of August. And this was a really wonderful way to do it. So Pearl on Fire, whoever you are, I'm so grateful to you. I am gonna tag you and send you this. But this was super fun. So I hope that wherever you are and whatever heavy things you carry, that you are kind with your heart, and it's really good to be back. It's so good to be back. So leave me some comments. If you want to do your 26, it is pearlonfireblogspot.com. But if you just Google Knitter 26 questionnaire, it can pop up. Leave them in the comments if you'd like, if you want to make your own video and tag me in it. I am Dead Knitter Society here on YouTube. On Instagram, I am Omnicron Setai. And yes, that is a typo. It's just how it was said my entire childhood, so that's how I say it now. Anyway, I'm really signing off for realsies now.